Okay, so this week's vlog is a little late because it started off spring break. It was supposed to start Saturday, I reckon, and I had a lot of responsibilities to take care of when I got home to, home with my parents and so on. And then I needed about 48 good hours of sleep to make up for the last 2 weeks that I haven't been getting sleep at all. And I felt so much better, like my whole body was healing after all that sleep from being stressed out from the weeks before. And this led me to my image for this week, which is a Trinity knot, because I believe that in order for anyone to be happy or things to go right, there needs to be balance. And a Trinity knot does represent some form of balance. And I listed some things at each point that should be balanced, because you need to balance your family and your friends with your significant other. You need to also balance, especially within the classroom, the teacher, the students, and the administration. You need to balance out what the teacher asks from the students. The students need to balance out what the teacher and administration asks of them, and the teacher definitely needs to keep a balance between what they give and get from the administration with what they give and get from the students. Which goes to more basic thing of needing to balance out your needs, your wants, and the demands that are made on you, which is, I think, always a challenge, especially when the demands on you become so much that your needs kind of dwindle a little bit, and the wants need to, sometimes you need to do something that you want to do, like the sleep. That was definitely a need, I think. And now I am ready to sit down and completely finalize all of my lesson plans for the rest of my student teaching placement. Last week's vlog talked about the technology lessons I was going to do with the VoiceThread and the Civil War events and battles, where the students narrate an image after researching about each particular event or battle, and they narrate an image that represents that event or battle using the application called VoiceThread. Well, the research went wonderful. The kids were really into it, and they were really enthusiastic about not having to learn about Civil War events and battles through a lecture or through reading the textbook. And we went through, and they were narrating, and they were excited about seeing their VoiceThread on the internet, and then VoiceThread did not work. And after some deliberation, we decided that this was due to the lack of bandwidth. Because I have noticed that if you get to the school at 7 o'clock in the morning, the internet is much faster than it is, say, at 8:30, when everyone in the school is trying to be on the internet at the same time, or using the internet at the same time. So that probably posed some problems with trying to record onto the internet. So in order to remedy that, the first thing we'll do, getting back from spring break, which we have all of this week and Monday. So on Tuesday, we will actually use PowerPoint to do the narration, because it is much more reliable at this point, especially since the computer usage is so high within the middle school right now, and we will not be able to get back into the lab. I did not take over the creative writing course, but I still want to, so I believe I will start doing that next week, and I feel that I will be much more prepared to do so. So for this week, during spring break, which I believed all students and teachers definitely needed by this time, or needed it, I will finalize all my lesson plans until the end of student teaching, or at the end of my placement, which will not be too difficult at all to do. We will actually finish up the Civil War, take a test on that, and a student notebook evaluation, and that will go on the next report card. And then we will finish up with Reconstruction, which is only about 2 to 3 lessons was actually 2 lessons. One lesson is going to take about 3 days to do because it's another it's technology integrated. And then we will do another review and another test and be entirely done. That way when I leave my student teaching placement, the cooperating teacher may take over and do review for the SOLs, which will be May 27th, I do believe. So they will have plenty of time to review, plenty of time to get back into language arts since we've been neglecting language arts for a while. And then they'll be done and go entirely back to language arts after the 27th. Now next week, in addition to redoing the PowerPoints, we will do an actual lesson on the events and battles. And I'm working out exactly what I want to do with that. Then I will do a lesson on the leaders of the Civil War and the effects of the Civil War. Those will all be next week, which we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm hoping that I can leave Thursday open for language arts, but if the lessons don't go as planned, I do have permission to take that language arts day, even though I really want to avoid that if possible. That's about it, except for I did go on a field trip last week. Last Wednesday we had 2 field trips. One on Wednesday, one on Thursday. The one on Wednesday we went to Montpelier, and that was from 7 in the morning to a little bit after 7 at night. And even after going to DC and staying overnight and doing that whole field trip workshop thing, this was definitely different. Dealing with 6th graders is definitely different on a field trip. And it went pretty well. There weren't any real discipline problems until the very end of the day, so it wasn't too bad. There were some pretty good educational tours that we had. There were 4 altogether, and I think the kids got a lot out of it. Some of them were pretty bored with it, which is expected. And then Thursday was an assembly at the high school, which the only thing I have a problem with field trips or school-wide field trips, it really shoots a day. Even if the field trip is only supposed to take that morning, you pretty much can't do anything in the afternoon because of the scheduling. Say, I couldn't do any sort of lesson with the morning block because that was during the assembly, so I couldn't really go and do an afternoon block because I'd rather keep them on the same page. I did, however, on Thursday read the entire first chapter of Across 5 Aprils, which worked out very well with the Civil War unit because the timing was perfect. And so having the novel read along with the Civil War unit, I think it gives the students much more perspective. Instead of just learning, these were the events, these were the battles, these were the leaders, this is how it ended, blank. That they were able to put it in some sort of context that they were able to relate to. Since the main character of Across 5 Aprils is a 9-year-old boy, but they can relate more so to them than, say, if you had read Cold Mountain. And then on Friday we did Secession, virtual Secession timeline, which went not as well as I had planned it would, especially with the afternoon group, being that it was the Friday before spring break. It was hard to retain their attention, but we trudged through it, and hopefully they got the information. I'm hoping that I can pull together a really good full block review before this test. The review that went on last time was, as I said in my last blog, pretty bad. Therefore, this next one needs to be much more substantial and much more repetitive, because they need to hear it more and more, not as in rote memorization, but to make sure that it gets in. sticks. So I am looking forward to working the rest of this week on all my lesson plans and going back next week completely relaxed and rested and ready to finish this thing out.